Welcome to this morning's edition of Bury Your Bookie. I'm Jeff DeForest, joined as always on these Thursdays, Mondays and Thursdays with the great Mike Jones, and it's always a lot of fun, even pre-show to start bouncing ideas off of Mike. Much of which were comprised of his activity last night as a degenerate gambler, and I didn't even realize the depths of your depravity, Mike Jones. That's why I love having you on the show, and especially when you start telling stories about a bet that you had to explain it to me, and I'm still not sure I completely understand it, even though I've been gambling my entire life, going all the way back to booking that action on the 1960 World Series when we booked the action against the Yankees against all the kids that were naturally Yankee fans in Brooklyn. And thank God Mazeroski hit that home run. But even I didn't fully comprehend that this whole you had like a 5-team round robin work.
Right.
In a variety of different baseball sides and props and activity. What the hell happened? Because
So one of the things that we talk about is when I get involved with customers and we talk about things to do and guys that bet this. One of the betting styles that we did in Vegas is we're trying to put up $300 to win a big score, kind of like what we talked about with betting horses, and you're betting the trifecta, the superfecta, to pick 1 through 5 in order, 1 through 4 in order. So you want that big payout, and I think that's part of what we're working on with this app and all this stuff. So basically what happened was you had 4 bets last night, slow night. The dogs were you could see the dogs were running in, and you thought they were going to change over. So the gentleman has the Dodgers, the Marlins, an under in a game, the Orioles, which is a winner, looked like it was a winner the entire time. He's got Tampa. He's got all the basically late games and hitting all angles of it. So basically at one point we're discussing this, that he's got 2 games basically, and the Marlins are up big. The Mariners are 3-1 late in the 9th inning, so you figure under 8.5 look pretty safe there, although we've seen my experiences where we've lost those bets.
Sure.
And then you had the Mets up 6-0, and then the Dodgers ready to start and Tampa ready to start. So I'm sitting there telling them, and we're talking about this, like, how do you get a hedge bet rolling on what looks like a pretty big, significant win for less money? And the development of the hedge bet, I believe, is coming in the form of a live bet on a huge team. And I think in historical times past, we never lost 6-0 leads at the pace that baseball is occurring in baseball now.
No.
So if we look at the Mets last night, Mets have been struggling.
Like 20-point leads in the NBA.
Exactly. That's where it all started for me, was when I started watching the NBA, and you're down 15-18, and you could create a live middle very easily because by halftime you're up one. And and it's like that's right where I saw it. But in baseball, what I'm seeing is the trade deadline created all these relievers being changed. The biggest players sold were relievers. So everybody's looking at relief pitching. So if you're going to bet a starter, forget betting the game. You're betting it in the first 5 innings, because that's the way these guys, the way they go. So what happened last night was this guy and I were talking, and I'm like, what do you think? I said, do you think the Mets are good? I said, the way the Mets are going, I don't know. So he starts looking at the line, and he's like, well, what if I put that about plus 1,100? And I'm like, why not? What's $25 in the midst of winning this money if you put the bet in?
Sure.
I said, plus it covers a lot of your risk if it wins. And sure enough, Peterson walks 4 guys. Garrett comes in and walks a guy. That line in 4 batters went from plus 1,200 to minus 270. And this is what we're seeing now in these games. The Braves put up 9 runs in the 4th. They never look back. Their winner going away. He's frustrated. He loses. Then the same thing happens later on with the Dodgers. Dodgers get up 5-2, and you can get the Dodgers. The Angels are plus 600 at that point. And you got to look into this. This is what I'm seeing with baseball now, is that, if you're charting the underdogs, like yesterday they went 10-5, significant winning day. If you put $100 on every underdog, you won about 8 or 9 units. The Rockies win as a big dog. The Twins win as a dog. The Dodgers loses. Angels win as a dog. The Braves win as a big dog. These dogs are 180, 170 and higher. Good payouts. And so you kind of want to look at that when you're kind of analyzing this thing. So I'm looking more at, even if the dog gets down, sometimes the live bet gets jacked because the favorite's laying 2-1 at the beginning of the game. They might lay 8-1 now. You get 8-1 price, where if the favorite is down 2-0, they're only going to get 140 or 150. Okay. But I think what's happening is the pressure in these teams, the pressure on the Dodgers, the Met media market, the Yankees, all these teams that notoriously get favored lines because the public bets them, and the lines get extended. I think there's value going against the norm by taking these Rockies and the White Sox who struggle 1-0 or a run line bet, and you're getting these teams that nobody has any confidence in, but the prices are so big. Is the pressure really on those kids, or is the pressure on the team that's trying to make the playoffs? And that's kind of where it's a combination of analytics, psychological, but seeing it. But I was telling you before the show, when the Mets are up 6-0, who's laying 4,700 to win 100 on the Mets to win the game? You just don't, as $100 better.
Steve Cohen would do that at that point. Yeah.
Right. You don't bounce back from that loss. That loss now, if you're betting $100, you got to hit 47 games in a row to get back your game. It's not happening.
It was like the Phantom Plunger at the track many years ago. It used to pay 50,000 and 100,000 a show on horses that looked like a sure thing. So he's betting these 1-9 shots in the show pool where they had to pay the mandatory $2.10 or 5 cents on the dollar. So he puts 100,000 down. The guy's getting back $5,000 every time he does it. But if he loses one time, which happened to be at the track on a couple of occasions, where this money went up in smoke, and you're thinking the guy's got to win his next 20 bets,
right,
to even get back to even. It's insane.
I heard a great story about the track real quick, and I'll be brief with this. A buddy of mine was down with a friend telling a story about years ago where they would offer everybody at their table, if there's 10 guys sitting there, whoever's going to bet a less than even money favorite down to 1-5, they would give you even money payout. So they were actually taking the action there, saying, we'll pay you even money for anything less than even money down the line. And he said they made money with it. He said they offered a better payout. He said the big favorite didn't necessarily win. It's a horse race. Anything could happen. And he said, so you think about it. Because they had a couple bad days, but he said overall they got the money for a couple months doing it. So if you're going to lay 3-5 and get paid $3.40, why not get paid $4 for the win bet with him? So that's what it was.
I love the disgusted look on most horse players' faces when, even if they're cashing, they turn and go, it's nothing but fucking favorites today. Nothing but favorites. Right. Now, did you ever walk up to the window, or now everybody's doing this on their phone or online somewhere, but and just boldly state and take out a couple of dimes and say, I want 100 on all the underdogs?
Yes.
Have you ever done that on a given day?
Yeah.
No. Was that?
Yeah, I think of my experience. I think. Yeah, Jeff, I think this is a serious kind of like betting tool, if I may give it.
All right.
I think if when in doubt, take the points. Just tell your customer.
Always, sure.
If you want to bet this game and you really have a feel, when you don't, take the money line dog on the baseball and take the 4 points in football. Just take the dog, take the road team, be the only guy rooting on that, because notoriously the home favorite is what the public will bet. So the line is probably get skewed for the even money better people that want the operator that wants to make money on both sides. You might be getting a half a point value just because the public is going to take that side. So when you're watching, and I've analyzed this for over a decade or two, I've seen line moves moved where they're just trying to beat the one sharp that'll drop that line because he took the underdog at +5 and drop it to 3.5. And I know the action's coming in at 3.5 on the favorite. And I'm always telling the bookmaker in Vegas, when the guys that I knew, and say, why do you just, when they're betting the game, who cares what they're doing? He goes, they're straightening up our business because we're creating it by they're taking the bet and we're moving the line. So I never understood a lot of the philosophy on where the line moves and why they did when you knew where they were coming. When you're doing this, and I've talked to the guys down there that are veterans, they know what's coming before the game day even starts. They know who they're going to need probably. I'd say they could probably guess 70% right that they know who they're going to need before the day starts. And so when you go and do that, I think it's more or less that's kind of the factor. So if you want to really think about it, and I know guys who play like this, who does the bookmaker need? I'm going to get on their side. That's their way of handicapping. Right. And I think that's the old adage. And so since the All-Star break, I will tell you, if you're taking the slate of underdogs in baseball, you're making a killing.
I like it, man. I could see a young Mike Jones boldly going up to the window and saying, hey, Lou, give me all the dogs, 100 apiece.
Yeah.
And coming out of there with his
It wasn't an everyday occurrence, but there were days when you sit there under the influence would go up there. You know what? Watch this.
Give me
all the underdogs. You take your 1,500 out, you throw 100 on all of them, and you cash. I can tell you the true story. 2000, we're out in Vegas. The New York's going to compass our rooms. I decide we got to bet $1,000 in horses a day. I put a 5-6 exacta box on every single track that I could see for like $10.
Right.
I cashed.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Cashed on it. Yep. Won, I think, $350. I think three of them. I had one 5-6 that paid like $274. And I had it 4 or 5 ways. And that's how I got it. It's like,
Beautiful.
but it was like, we laughed. And the next day I did the same thing and I didn't cash the next day. But I ended up making small money. But I said, that's horses, just going with 56. And I could see from behind me the Lawrence Taylor adage. It was Lawrence Taylor's number. Going 5-6-6-5 is why I even did it. So,
Yeah.
but that's always like kind of fun. So I always think somehow if you take the mindsets like blackjack, we always try to play blackjack. What really gets is the players guessing the card or trying to figure it out. The dealer plays the same way all the time, and they end up taking the money because of the odds. So if we take that thinking out of it, if you don't want to think, take the points.
That was my grandmother's dying words. Jeff, always take the points.
Yeah.
That's how she left the planet. All right, full slate of NFL preseason games on tap.
Sure.
Don't know that we were able to decipher anything of any real significance out of week number 1 of the preseason, except that there does appear to be at least the slightest bit of emphasis on being more prepared for the September opening than we saw in the previous season and or 2. I guess I don't know how long they've been doing the 3 preseason games and have minimized what players do in practice, but
Right.
I guess that's been going on for a few years. And the book is that the September football has been horrible, particularly so last year. So it seems like we're seeing maybe a little bit of a change of philosophies of the organizations that they would like to be a little bit more prepared to put on more of a typical NFL show early in the year than they were last year, where literally the September games looked like what used to be the preseason. So I don't know. Is there anything you could determine or you witnessed in the first week of the preseason that would be of any significance, or are we kind of just starting fresh this week and trying to formulate some new ideas about it?
Yeah. The thing that I saw was the yardages off the kickoffs. Last year, the kickoff new rule was there was really no data. They had to go to the XFL or another league to go create data. And
Yeah.
then they have a whole year of it. And I think what they've done is they've created that touchback on a fly to the 35-yard line instead of the 30. There's balls being put out to the 40 if it hits goes out of bounds now, and the kick. If it landed in the landing zone and gets to the end zone, it's to the 20. So there's a lot of different ways you're going about this. The Patriots had a kickoff return for a touchdown on the opening kickoff, which immediately changed the live line without a play from where there was 37 to 44. So they moved that number right off that kickoff like it didn't even exist. It wasn't like a little basic move. It was like the play didn't exist, so they still stayed the same number. So what I saw was a lot of overs, and basically the field position was a big deal. You get through the first line of the fence at the 15, 18-yard line, you're down to 3 or 4 guys having to make the tackle around the 40 or the kicker. So I think you're going to see some substantial returns and field position change. And last year they said it created 1.8 points per game, the field position, the new kickoff rule added to the totals. So to this week, there's an adjustment. Last week, it was you had mentioned, and correctly, that they were all unders last year.
Yeah.
Well, that they went the overs went 13-2 and 14-1, or 15-1 at the half and 14-2 overall. So I don't know that the adjustment now they've adjusted it to the average total from 34 to 38.
We're seeing higher numbers this coming week.
4-point difference in the numbers on average, which tells you that the bookmakers lost and there might be an over exaggeration. So I don't like it the way I did like it before, but you see some values. You kind of got to look at some of the values. So if you're looking at the Titans Falcons game at 4.5 and 38, you're going to see some Cam Ward. You'll probably see Atlanta play a little bit, but that line at Tennessee on the road 4.5 tells me that the Falcons, who didn't play starters and were losing until that unfortunate injury, which all the bets became canceled after the play didn't go out. You have the Falcons 4.5 dog. I think they would probably play more people. I would be inclined in that as a doubt. Take the underdog. Take the Falcons in the 4.5, not knowing what Tennessee's going to do, and just knowing that the Falcons, are 3-point. They're guaranteed. The over-under wins for the Falcons is 8.5. Tennessee's 5.5. You kind of think they're at home. You might want to think, is that an over-exaggeration of the line? Last week there was a lot of over-exaggerations in line movements, where the biggest dog of the week was the Super Bowl champion, a 6.5-point underdog that won. I think the money line underdogs were 10-5 last week. So there's a lot of these things that you're going to see that will kind of adjust. But
And
that's getting
you're looking at, and this is the thing that's baffling to me about people betting the preseason. I know that maybe this is an unpopular opinion here for somebody to have on a betting show, but especially in terms of trying to determine a side, it just seems like it's an absolute arbitrary selection because the number is largely based on speculation.
right.
Where you're speculating, okay, these guys are going to go ahead and they're going to throw Cam Warren out there, and he actually looked pretty good in the first week. And you're thinking, maybe this guy is a bigger impact player than people were giving him credit for, because for a number one overall pick, who far and away exceeded any of the accomplishments of any other quarterback that came out in this year's draft, or seemingly so. There was a lot of question marks about what kind of pro he was going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, there always are. You never know. There's no cinch or no guarantee, as we've seen over the years. But nonetheless, it didn't seem like there was an overwhelming sentiment that, whoa, Cam Ward's going to turn this franchise right around. So I don't know. I mean, I guess if you were thinking he's going to play a lot, you're not going to see a lot of Daniels or not Daniels, but the Falcons starters.
Yep.
Uh, I was thinking they were playing the Commanders there for a second.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, it's just speculation, though. I mean, how do you determine what the approach is going to be
Yeah.
by either team in this
Well,
situation?
the guys who I know that were really successful betting preseason said that there's truth to be told by what the coaches will tell the media, meaning the games are not are basically
See, I
meaningful.
never believe that, though. I
Right,
never believe anything the coach says to the
but
media.
I think in preseason they tell you they want to tell the fan base who's paying for a ticket that really doesn't mean anything
Yeah,
what's going on, and I think that's what the social media, that's the knowledge. So immediately, Brian Dable comes out and says Russell Wilson's going to play a series or two. He got a series and took him to 3 points. Then Jackson Dart came in. Jackson Dart will play. So when you start listening to the press conferences early in the week, and this is what these guys told me, you're getting more truth now because they're
oh
more.
man,
They're going to tell you who's going to play in the quarterbacks, and these numbers are all driven off quarterback play. If you know that, like, I got to be honest with you. The night I told to bet over in the San Diego, the Los Angeles Chargers Detroit Lions game. I didn't even realize Trey Lance was on the Chargers. He
right.
comes down, plays lights out, plays very well, throws a couple of touchdown passes. The over 32.5 goes over, and you're thinking, well, they have a player there. And he looked very good again this week against the Saints. So you got to look at see where the quarterbacks are. I think that's where it's a quarterback-driven league, and then know who they're going to play. And the coaches kind of make you alert to that. But that doesn't mean that you're going to win or lose. Win, of course. But I just think that the Falcons are the better team, have the better roster, might have a little bit more depth in the first 60. Who they're going to play or not, what they're going to play, you're going to see it. I would think 4.5 when in doubt, take the underdog. They were winning last week. That would be my pick for Friday night if I'm looking at it.
I love it, man. All right, so I know you have to be extremely excited because this is like the Mayor's Trophy game of football, where the Jets and Giants, even
Yes.
preseason, do battle. And you are Mr. New York Giant with your Big Gunner podcast here on NoFilter.net.
Mm-hmm.
Always get into it. It always and it never ceases to amaze me the detail with which you understand Giants minutia.
Yes.
So I mean, how forward are you looking to this particular matchup here? Because I would think even in preseason, every Giant fan wants to just crush the New York Jets like a grape.
The first emotional game I had as a young fan is 1974. And Joe Namath running at the Yale Bowl in a touchdown in overtime in the first preseason overtime game, begging not to get hit. It's a famous thing where he's pushing his arm against the guy. Don't hit me. I'm in the end zone.
Yeah.
And the Jets beat the Giants in overtime. So when we were there in '84 was the first year that the Jets moved into Giant Stadium. That game and that rivalry did exist when I was in the locker room. So I always think it's fun. It's back page type talk. The thing to me is concerning is the Giants are a 3.5 point favorite. So if I'm going to be out, I probably think from what I saw with the dual practices, they had joint practices this week, and it looked like the defenses had more control of the game, the first team defenses. But again, are you putting your first team defense out there? Because who's more likely to get hurt? The tackler, the guy going to make the tackle, friendly fire. So I think that's why you saw a lot of these overs, is that the defenses, to me, in the first week that I saw, really were struggling to put their best players on the field because I think they're worried about injury. So you saw the quarterbacks and some of the frontline players, offensive line, staying on a little bit longer than you saw with the defenses. In this particular game, I think the 39 the total might be slightly high now. I thought, earlier with these teams, I would kind of take the Jets in this side just because of the point factor. But I'm looking forward to seeing the game. The quarterback play was very good in week one for the Giants. Field struggled in joint practices, but the Jets looked awful good on the line of scrimmage and defensively against the Packers. Their depth, they dominated the second half also. So the Jets have the depth, and I think what you're going to get is you're going to get a guy like Aaron Glenn who's going to get these players going. He's a new coach trying to get a reputation with his team, trying to get a focus. So I think he wants to become a very physical team like he tried to run in Detroit. I think that's what you're going to see here in this game. So I see the Giants pulling starters probably a little earlier than they normally would have, maybe geared to the next game. Jets might be, might try to that rookie coach. I like rookie coaches trying to win preseason games. 3.5 is kind of an adjustment. It tells me the Jets won by 30 points against a playoff team. Not that matters or if you're handicapping, but 3.5 says the odds makers are telling you the Giants. I don't know. I'm going to look at the other side. And that's the honesty about me. So
Yeah.
guys, trying to be advice. I go against my team sometimes a lot.
Yeah, that would be like a Yankee fan picking the Mets in a Yankee Mets matchup, or Knicks Nets. I guess I don't think has that same impact in New York as these other rivalries would. All right, anything on a baseball card tonight?
Sure, we're at the diamond fun. If you're betting underdogs since the All-Star break, you're making a killing.
That's that wild round robin thing going.
Yeah, you know that you're doing well with the underdogs. Here's the catch, though, on one of the games today. We're going to go right to the board early. You got to kind of think the Mariners gave one away last night, 2 in a row against the Orioles, playing the last game of the series, the getaway day. I know it's early morning for Seattle. They'd be playing at 10 in the morning in out west if they were out west. I kind of like them a little bit today, only laying 123. Line tells you to favor the Orioles. I know the Dogs have been highly successful, but I kind of think laying 123 is a short price. You might want to look into Seattle today.
All right, very good. Anything else, Stan?
Yeah, and again, I'm going to go back to the Dogs that have been successful. I know all the pressure's on Cleveland. They're tracing. But, man, Cabrera, the Marlins, the frontline pitchers have been pitching okay. Last night they get a big start out of Perez, and they held on and win. I like the Marlins a little bit with the 105 tonight against the Guardians. Take 2 out of 3 of them, the Guardians. Just when you think everything's looking easier. Why are the Indians with their ace only 115? So I'm going to take a shot with the Marlins as the dog of the day.
This kid, Jacob Marcy.
Yes.
Just called up last week. He's 17 for 39 now, hitting 436. Now, this was a guy that was hitting 246 with the jumbo freaking shrimp.
Right.
Call up here. He's been a monster. He knocks in 7 runs last night. Hits 2 home runs in the ball game. He's got 6 stolen bases already in a relatively short period of time. And just remarkable. And his previous 2 seasons in like Double-A, he was below the Mendoza line. 176.
And the best part about it, he plays hard.
Yeah.
He got a great little family. He showed a family. They're traveling to all the games.
Yeah.
Good-looking kid, strong, making contact. All it is when you get to this level is do you have the confidence inside to play? And I think there's a lot to be said of these guys now that are coming up, that are getting these opportunities, that are looking to get that paycheck, and are not settling for these veteran players that Soto's and who strike out twice with the base loaded in the 5th inning. Juan Soto strikes out at a pitch outside the strike zone on 3-2, and he strikes out late in the game and he's not hitting the big hit, hitting 240, and you're sitting there going, hey, if this guy hits 400 for the rest of the season, there's all of a sudden you have some value throughout the league. So I love.
Yeah, I was a batting average guy because I'm old school. Sure. And I still believe that it's a more fair barometer of what a guy's doing than even not necessarily staggering power numbers. I mean, is it okay if you're Kyle Schwarber, you about 186, which he's doing better this year from an average standpoint. But in the past, we've seen him below 200 with 51 homers. And, that this is, as you've been stating, I mean, this is one of your general philosophies that this is the direction the game's gone in, and it's maybe to its detriment. A lot of people feel the same way. But, yeah, I mean, for a guy hitting 240, I mean, imagine back in the day, we hated Clete Boyer as a hitter batting eighth for the Yankees. He hit like 250 with 20 home
Right.
runs every season, and was probably the most underrated fielding third baseman perhaps in the history of the game, because this guy at third was as good as anybody defensively that you've ever seen.
Mhm.
Now, his brother Ken was a far more well-known player because he was a better hitter, but defensively, you won this guy, and we denigrated him as kids, thinking,
Yes.
Christ, how can you have this guy in a lineup? He's hitting 250.
Right.
And now you got your highest paid player in the game is a 240 hitter.
You know, but Jack McKeon was on the other day. I guess he was going to the Ring of Honor down here in Florida. And I just in between innings, and I just heard him talk. And he has basically stated what I've been talking about with my baseball buddies. No one moves runners anymore. The sacrifice bunt is out of the game. You know, it's all about the long ball and getting that. And I get all that excitement. But the fundamental baseball, I've seen more in the last, I think I've said this to you before. In the last 3 weeks since yours, I've seen more sacrifice bunts than I saw in the first half of the season.
Yeah.
But if you can't get that runner in with a runner on third with one out, and he's not getting in the, what good is a sacrifice bunt from second to third? And you're doing it in the 10th inning. So to me, are these kids willing to sacrifice to make a productive out? Then not. And I just want to emphasize one thing too, real quick before we go. I watched Christian Yelich last week against Atlanta. I'm watching the game.
Yeah.
He hits 2 foul balls down the third base line. 2 rips him foul into the netting over the dugout. And you can see he's waiting on a pitch. And I'm looking and I'm like, he's going the other way. I wonder where the infield's set up, and they don't give you a view. And sure enough, he hits a slow roller, not a slow roller, but a ball that gets past the third baseline. And the third baseman was so far over toward the second base, he had to go dive and slide to stop the ball from going to the outfield. He boots it goes into the tarp, and he gets a double, second and third. And I just thought that if more players decided to hit away from the shift, it would open up the middle of the infield.
I never understood why I mean, I don't think you can litigate a defense out of the game if it's working. So, you know, the way to defeat it, obviously, is to have a guy that can just hit a freaking tapper the other way.
Yep.
If you were, I mean, switch hitting and you had to go to your weak side, you still should be able to dribble a tapper the other way.
Yeah.
And I'm amazed that more people don't do it, how they hit into these shifts. And you're still seeing elements of it, because you'll see a guy rip a shot up the middle, and you're thinking off the camera from center field that that's a base hit. And then you see the second baseman standing behind second base. And you're like, wow. I mean, so he was 1 foot over on the other side. But I never thought you could legislate, you know, the desire to play any type of defense out of the game. I mean, if a team wants to put all of their defenders in the infield, why shouldn't they be allowed to do it?
I always remember a buddy of mine who was a prominent baseball coach, college baseball coach, telling his 3-hitter to sacrifice bunt. A big spot in a playoff game. He's hitting 340 because he had runners on first and second, down 1 run in the last inning against Clemson. And sure enough, then the 4-hitter comes up and gets a base hit, and he gets 2 runs. And he tells me the story of him just looking at the 3-hitter. Do you understand why I wanted you to sacrifice bunt? And he took the lead. And he said, no one expects you to sacrifice bunt. They're playing you deep. If you get it down, you're going to accomplish what we want. But the kid did not want to. He wanted to be the hero. He's the big 3-hitter. He's that. So I think there's a mindset in the game that, are we really trying to win, or is it about me? That's really the whole thing that I'm really trying to figure out. And when you see teams blow leads and the crowd getting on, the Met fans were getting on these players roughly. They walked 5 guys in that inning, and all 5 came in to score. I mean, incredible. And it's like you're watching a game, you're a fan, you're in a playoff run, you're trying to catch Philly, let alone stay in the wild card, which I think the Mets are going to make the playoffs, because I think teams are too
far. I think only 1 game, and that may have changed. I believe they're 1 game ahead of the Reds for the last one.
Okay, so then the Reds can't catch them. So so that's the whole thing. So where's the story coming? So, you know, I think the Mets are going to catch hell, and Juan Soto especially, if the Mets don't make the playoffs. That's what the Met fans are saying, is that they pay this guy all this money. He doesn't do it in big spots. And
probably his worst season of the last several, by far.
So anyway.
He had 1 streak. He showed signs of life recently. In fact, I was talking about this yesterday on the show, that this guy that is handicapping baseball is handicapping. He's giving out guys to hit home runs in ball games.
Yes.
So he gave out Soto yesterday, and as far as I know, he didn't have one.
He did. He hit one in the second inning.
He hit a home run?
He hit a home run. They went up 5-0 on a 2-run homer to center field. He did it a home run.
Wow. Okay, so the guy was right.
Yep.
And I was trying to make the case that the most pristine of logic often is wrong. So I predicted he would not hit a home run in a game, even though everything this guy said would lead you to believe that it was a certainty. And so he was right. Good for him, because he's recommending that you go.
And just remember, on these apps, you don't get to bet he won't hit a home run. So if you want to bet 9
Yeah,
guys
that's
in the
what I
parlay
said.
that won't hit home runs, they don't get that. That isn't available to you.
No home run, I would imagine, would be prohibitive odds, because if a guy
Right.
hits 30 in a year, that means
1 in 5. Yeah.
bases.
Probably get it. You lay 8-1. You should lay 8-1. He doesn't hit a home run every night, right?
Yeah, because he's got 132 games probably where he's not
Sure.
hitting a home run. So, all right. So you have the Mariners, the Marlins, and that's the way we're going to go. You like your little.
And I'm on Atlanta and the Jets under. So we'll go 5 games for the weekend.
Excellent. All right, we'll play that as a round
Right.
robin. And, you call me when we need to.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Mike. Always a pleasure,
got
my
it.
friend. A lot of
Thanks.
fun. Mike Jones, ladies and gentlemen, here with us on Bury Your Bookie. And for Mike, I'm Jeff DeForest. We'll catch you tomorrow. The next edition, Professor, with some college football stuff coming your way tomorrow. So tune in for that, and we'll see you on the next edition of Bury Your Bookie.